That's so strange. This train's not supposed to move. This toggle is on. Hello everybody, welcome back to Train Sim World, and we are now on Train Sim World 4. As you can see with my profile there, I've got a few more things loaded up into my wonderful game simulator, I guess you could say. So we just finished Sand Patch Grade. I am going to be doing a review for it as soon as I can get some video recorded for it. But today we're going to, and actually for all I know the review is already up by the time I'm doing this one, but today I'm going to be recording the Great Western Express. And going into the Great Western Express, there's actually 4 areas. You got mainline driver, freight driver, express driver, and commuter driver. So we're going to be starting with the class 166, and that starts us off with the introduction, and as you can see, the difficulty go up. This is nothing like the Sand Patch Grade, so let's go ahead and get started.
This is the class 166 in Great Western Railway livery. This unit is used up and down the Great Western Main Line, providing stopping services to thousands of commuters each week. Today, you're going to learn how to take control of this unit, start it up, get it moving, and then bring it to a stop. Start by climbing aboard the unit. Enter through the cab door in front of you.
So folks, the Great Western Express has 21 of these units. This camera won't let me go all the way down to the end, but usually every one of these class 166s come with 3 sets of rail cars like this does right here, and you're pretty much driving a 3 rail car train unless you're driving a longer train where they'll put 2 of these together and you'll be driving a 6 car train. This is a very unique train. This is a Great Britain type rail service, so yes, I'm moving away from American freight for now and I'm going into some passenger service, and I wanted to try something a little bit different, and I want to eventually try European train, so this is definitely a different way to go about doing this, and I feel like starting with the UK is probably the easiest way to get yourself started with European trains. So let's go ahead and hop inside like they asked me to. I guess we need a ladder instead of we can use those stairs. I don't know why they don't want me to use the stairs. They just, why they want me to use the...
around, and when you're ready, have a seat in the driver's chair.
Thanks, lady. I don't know why they want me to use the staircase instead of the ladder right there, but that's okay. We just open the door by pushing the door button, obviously. We go inside our small cab, and the only way to close the door, as I could see, is there's actually a door close button right here. Technically, this is how you would officially close the cab door, but it's weird that you can actually close the cab door from down here. For whatever reason, you're allowed to do that. We're going to keep the cab door closed. We're going to go wander around the train just for a minute, and this is what the inside of this train looks like. If we did take a seat here, we can sit inside the car, but if you do that, actually, you'll eventually get an AI driver driving your train, something to keep in mind. We also have doors that lead out from the left and the right. We can open and close those manually, which is really nice. And if we keep continuing our walk through this, you'll see the car kind of replicates as it goes along, and eventually we have a toilet we cannot go into, which is so annoying, isn't it? And then we have these wonderful sliding doors. The first one you have to push a button, the second one you need to eventually hit. And because the simulator right now will not let me go past this for this particular episode, I cannot actually get back into the rest of the rail cars back there. But I guarantee you, if I just turn around like this, the rest of the rail cars will literally look very similar to this. I see they got cameras on board. Hi. Anyways, so let's go ahead and not sit down yet. We're going to close that door. We also have a second man seat that we can sit in. We have another door that we can go in and out of. We have a bunch of controls here, such as closing these doors. We also have a guard buzzer, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, which is going to be very important. We have a switch up here we cannot actually touch or use. We have another switch up here we can't touch or use. And there's a few other details in here that we just non-touchable. So let's go ahead and sit down and see what they ask us to do next. Ah, I'm sitting down the second man. Good job, me. I wanted to sit here. Okay, I broke the game.
You need to get the engine up and running. Start by unlocking the reverser using the master key.
Geez, that took a long time for her to talk to me. Goodness. So this game also has alerters like the other game does, and what we're going to do, I'm actually going to turn on the cab lights. For those wondering where that is, that's this button right here. We can turn on our cab light. We have a clipboard we can't use. We also have, for whatever reason, we can close the blinds in case the sunlight is just too much. There is no blind on the door here, but strangely enough, there is a blind here, so you can drive this train completely blind if you feel like doing that and having a fun challenge. We've got a bunch of buttons up here, such as brake demand, temperature isolation, train stop override, which is something I'm trying to figure out exactly how some of these switches work. We have a bunch of fuses, so these are essentially lit up fuses. So obviously you have green, which is represented by this white color, and then you have red represented by obviously red. And it actually even tells you local fault indication blue is normal and red is fault, but the blue really still comes out as white. We have a headlight control, we're going to come back to it in a few minutes. We have the fault light that will make the lights brighter, and then another one that will make it dimmer, but I like to try to turn this up and make it as bright as possible. We have preheating the train, which is always good to do. We have train lighting. So this train lighting, in fact, if I turn off the cab light just for a second, if you see the train lighting go on and off here, there's an on switch and an off switch, and you notice the light brightens and dims. If I turn around and open this door back up, you'll see it actually lights up the train cars back there, which is rather interesting. I'm sorry for the ultra zoom there. Let me turn on the cap light again. We have a brake standing light as well, and then all up here is our safety system isolation switches, but we also have one more safety system up there. Let me get up and out of my chair so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. None of these switches work except for the one that says AWS, so it's very important to have the AWS turned on if you're using safety systems up here. Get back in the chair there. And if we're using these safety systems, we have emergency brake supply as normal. If you hit the button, it's going to be isolated like this. So what we would normally do in a regular mission, we would turn this to normal. We would turn the DSD to normal. The DSD, by the way, is this guy here, the foot pedal. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. The vigilance we will leave as normal as well. The traction interlock is normal. The passenger comms is normal. This is essentially, you think of intercoms. Train fire alarm is very critical and important, so definitely leave that as normal. And of course, standing traction, that's normal. Getting back to vigilance, that essentially pings you to remind you that, hey, you have a train that you're driving. Now, please, somebody from Great Britain correct me if I'm saying some of this wrong, because I've never driven a train from Great Britain. I've done some, like, research and looking at figuring out this stuff here so I can figure out how to drive this train. Unlike American Freight, the first thing you've got to do is turn on a key. American Freight doesn't have keys. You just get in the engine. It's either already on or you just, push some buttons and start the engine right up. This one has a master key which locks the train. There is one more thing, I should say. The DRA sometimes could be isolated or it could be on normal. If I put it on, it's going to be for a purpose, and I'm going to explain this in just a second. So we're going to turn the master key on.
Set the reverser handle into the neutral position.
Why this reverser handle off is to shut the engine off, so to speak, and I just realized there's a little button down there that doesn't have a purpose. I can't actually switch that one. The reverser handle off, it has two settings. Forward, which I'm going to come back to that annoying noise. Neutral.
That alarm is the AWS self-test system. You will need to acknowledge this before continuing. Press the AWS reset button.
If you press this with the mouse button, you're only going to click the
When you're ready,
AWS.
hit the engine start button on the desk to get the engine running.
Hold on, I get to starting up the engine. So if you hit just the mouse key, you're only hitting AWS reset. If you use the mouse button, you're also hitting DSD reset. So both of these are dead man panels, basically. So if something happened to you and you died and you didn't hit these buttons, the train will automatically shut off and stop, just like the freight that we were driving earlier. Now, if you hit the Q key, you'll notice both buttons activate. This one's activating as well as this one. So the Q key is very helpful for resetting the AWS and the DSD. Keep in mind I'm playing on PC, as you can tell. There is a compressor speed up button. I will have to explain that on another mission because the compressor speed up is tied to helping you get moving when you're kind of stuck, so to speak, on a hill. Oh, and I forgot there's actually gauge light. So let's turn on the gauge light. Where's the button for the gauge light? I know it's here somewhere. Gauge light, where are you? Ah, there it is. I'm so dumb. I don't know why this said gauge dimmer. That's not supposed to say gauge dimmer. So this one's supposed to be off and this one's supposed to be on, and then these two, one dimmed and one does like half dim. Okay, I guess they're all gauge dimmers. That makes sense. So there's my gauge lights. And what I love about this, by the way, this game also has not only door releases here next to you, but the guard buzzer is all the way over there if you really want to use that guard buzzer, or you can use the guard buzzer that's hanging out next to me here. Going to come back to that in a few minutes. We have a couple button and an uncouple button along with a passenger emergency override in the event we need it. Wiper controls are located here. We have a warning horn, and in this train the warning horn sounds very different. So it's got a low and a high tone there. And my favorite button of all, The reading light. I've yet to figure out where the heck the reading light is in this train. I don't know if it's meant to be that light right there, or I believe these two are air, but I don't know where the heck the reading light is. And obviously, reading light should be somewhere in this rail car, and it's possible the Class 166 doesn't even have a reading light on board, and it just happened to be a model for who knows what, but there is no reading light as far as I can see in this train anywhere, so I don't know what that button is for, but I tend to toggle it just because I like it. By the way, folks, if you need an emergency brake, there's two ways to get emergency brake. You can do emergency brake from the throttle itself and go up a notch to emergency brake. That's one way to do emergency brake, or you could just simply click emergency brake and that will engage the emergency brake for you. You have two ways to do it. Of course, if you need climate control, it's always good to have the fan and the control. For now, I'm just going to put this on cool because I'm going to keep myself up talking to you. So I still have the switch off. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Let's start up our engine. Notice there's a stop button as well.
Now, set the headlights to day.
So folks, for the headlight control, we got a couple things. We got day headlights, we got night headlights, we have tail headlights, and we have markers. So just to flip this right now, actually, let's go back in the seat because it's going to be the easiest to see from here. If I go to the outside camera, on camera 3, we're just going to come up to the front. Right now, our headlights are currently off. There's that handsome, wonderful dude that I'm playing. Let's go ahead and flip the headlight control to something that's not day. We're going to start with tail lights. If we come back to number 3, you can see my tail lights are now on and I have these lights lighted up. And that's actually if I'm going to go in reverse for some reason, but it will actually activate the tail lights on both ends. I don't believe it will. Oh, it does let me go to the other side. Good. So it will activate the tail lights on both sides. If I take this thing and I flip it over away from day to marker light, let's see what the marker lights look like. So this side is still a tail light and we come back to the front side. This side become marker lights, and those are the two lights in the middle. And if we move this over to the only thing left, which is night. Where's the night? Night. Come on, night. One, the simulator's not letting me switch this over to night mode, which is really annoying. So we're going to stick this on day for right now.
Put the train in forwards so we're ready to get moving. Using the reverser again, set the handle into forward.
Daylight hours run from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and night hours run from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And so there's a set of headlights for day and there's a set of headlights for night. You want to make sure you know what time it is. So right now it's 2 o'clock, so I can use day mode, but as soon as it passes 8 p.m. we have to switch it over to night mode. Very important in this train. I had to look that up because I couldn't remember the exact time. I wanted to make sure I had that accurate for you guys. So it says it wants us to do what? Set this reverser to forward. We're going to do that.
By setting the throttle brake to off, they will start to release.
So if you want realism, we're just going to go ahead and put this on.
Nearly there. Now apply some power and get this unit moving. Ease the throttle brake handle into notch 1.
And I'm going to go to notch 1 for a second. Actually, the train's moving. That is very interesting. It did stop, right? That's so strange. That's so strange. This train's not supposed to move. This toggle is on. Well, the DRA is actually preventing my train from moving. I'm probably on a... Oh, that's why it's moving. I'm on a slight grade. Okay, well, there you go. So the DRA, when it's turned on, if you use this for realism and you turn on the DRA, which I actually prefer to do, the DRA will prevent your train from going through a red light or a red signal, and it's a good way to remind yourself, like accidentally moving into forward like I did, and this will keep your train from rolling away on you. So it's very helpful to use when you got a red signal at the end of the line. So turning that DRA off, you'll probably notice that this little red lamp here shut off, and now we're starting to get some speed. Even though it says use notch 1, technically when you're driving trains like this, you really want to probably start off on notch 3. So you're kind of doing like a 1, 3, 5, etc. And it says reach a minimum of 10 miles per hour. And once we kind of get some speed, that's really when we bump this up to max speed here and go up to notch 7, and we finally get some movement here. So it also says to decrease speed by moving it in the other way. So we're going to turn this back off. In order to brake, we actually will go in the other direction and move our knots to slow our train down to touch. And we're going to stay under 10 for now. One thing we need to remember for this particular unit, the Class 166, the max speed is 90 miles per hour. So very important when it comes down to the future mission going forward here. So we're going to go ahead and finish off this tutorial. What we're going to do is we're going to just kind of get some speed here because I'm slowing down way too much. I'm eventually going to come back to some of the singling and whatnot.
Performing great and showing real confidence. All you need to do now is bring this unit to a gradual stop. Set the throttle brake handle to braking 1 to apply a small amount of braking force and let the brakes do the rest.
So as you can see, our final destination is about 50 yards, give or take. This train doesn't take very much to stop. If we just kind of go back on the outside here, it really doesn't take much to stop this train. Notch 1 is enough to do it, but when you're going pretty fast, you're going to probably want to use Notch 2 and Notch 3. But do think of your passengers that you've got in your train before you actually stop your train here, right? Very critical. So let's go ahead and put this on Notch 2, and we'll just call this a mission.
You're ready to head out there on your own now. If you remember everything I've shown you here, you will do just fine.
More than likely, if you remember everything I just mentioned, you'll do just fine. This game totally does not tell you what you need to do. So AP point score, as you found out there, it was really only 500 AP. All you needed. 500 AP for gold medal. Most of you probably will get the gold medal from the outset unless somehow you find a way to screw up the introduction. I doubt that you'll find a way to screw up the introduction. Alright folks, so we're going to call this brief introduction done, and we will meet you in the next Great Western Express mission. Have a great day folks. Bye. So we also had a double yellow light earlier. We're going to kind of keep coasting along here, and I believe that is our station that's coming up ahead. I believe. Or we're going to be a location. We'll find out here. We'll find out in just a second. We need to make sure what our brake system is. Okay, we're good. So you notice it has a double yellow, single yellow, and then red light.
We want to aim to stop at the S board at Twyford. Apply some brakes now and follow a gentle, smooth braking line right down to a stop.